In this video, let's talk about why some INFPs find it so easy to stand up to power, while other INFPs feel shy or uncertain about themselves or what to do or how to respond when pressured into difficult situations or forced to do something they don't want to do. Okay, so many INFPs struggle with the question of like, how do I relate to power? How do I stand up to the man? Like what do I do when my boss tells me to do something that I don't want to do at work? How do I manage if, my parents expect something from me that I don't feel that is right? So to answer that question, let's zoom out for a second and let's imagine you stopped resisting. Let's imagine that from now on, you just do whatever other people tell you to do. So imagine you just went along with what your boss said, even if you felt it was wrong. Imagine you just did what your parents said, even if you felt that was not the right thing to do. Now imagine that over time, these people would start to get gradually more upset with you, right? Because they'd start to perceive you as passive. They'd start to see you as maliciously compliant. They would start noticing that, hey, actually this person already knew what was right, but they went along with what I did, and now we ended up in this bad situation. And so now they might start blaming you, right? So now suddenly you're being blamed for the fact that you didn't resist. You were going to be blamed for the fact that you resisted, but you were also going to be blamed for the fact that you did go along with something that eventually was going to turn out to be the wrong thing to do, right? All of this just brings up a very important thing, and that is that other people don't always know what they are doing. A leader is forced to lead, is forced to take charge, is forced to tell other people what to do, but does not always know what the right thing to do is. Even if they seem grandiose, even if they seem that they are competent, even if they seem like they are and have a lot of power and a lot of influence, they don't always have the heart. They don't always feel what is right. They don't always understand the bigger perspective. And so you as a follower or as a person in the vicinity of such a person has to be the person that has the backbone to stand up and say what is right? They need you in their organization, or they need you to be there to, give them perspective and feedback on the things that they do. Because that, as an INFP, as somebody with introverted feeling, that is the greatest gift that you can give to another person. Now, the truth is, people are not always going to respond well to criticism. And many people associate their own identity and ego with what they say they want you to do, right? So they believe that if you're questioning them, if you're challenging them, you must be questioning them and their very person. And there's a lot of insecurities there. And here's something INFPs don't always realize. Other people get insecure too, right? So other people start wondering, why is this person questioning me? Like, did I do something wrong? Is there something going on that I don't understand? And here, a lot of the time, a problem for especially extroverted thinking types is that they can't really see nuance. So over time, an ENTJ or an ESTJ can certainly develop the capacity to understand and see nuance, but not all ESTJs and ENTJs have this capacity in them and have not learned how to see nuances. And so they might often rely on black and white judgments. So for example, they might brand you as an enemy, even though they don't really know what an enemy is and why you would be an enemy just because you're bringing up a small point of feedback on something that they did. And here you're going to have to ask yourself, what's more important to you? The 1 second of discomfort when you question somebody, or the long-term discomfort of having to participate in or do something that you know is wrong? Ultimately, we always have to think about what we need to do in order to feel good when we go to bed at night. Like, imagine every night before you go to bed, you look at yourself in your mirror and you ask yourself, right, did I do the right thing today? Did I do something? Did I make myself proud today? Did I show my best face to the world today? And imagine that you didn't feel like you did that. Imagine you felt like, I did things I shouldn't have done. I said things I shouldn't have done. I went along with things I didn't want to do, right? Like, imagine that was how you felt every day, right? Like, imagine the long-term shame that brings up in a person. And then think about, yes, of course, standing up to people might bring up conflict. But when you study, for example, somebody like Lao Tzu, the INFP Taoist, you're going to see something very perplexing. That is that Lao Tzu embraced non-resistance as a way of life, right? And now you might think, oh, so he was very passive then. He just went along with everything that everyone told him to do. He just did what everyone said. No, Lao Tzu always focused on the idea of the yin and yang, and he didn't see a conflict between yin and yang. He didn't have any anger or jealousy or envy towards extroverted thinking types. He didn't feel like he was trying to fight against them or stop them or push them. He didn't feel like they were doing anything bad. He only felt like it was his duty to be a part of the yin yang and that balance. And so he said that when other people are being powerful, we need to allow ourselves to be weak, right? Like just as and whenever somebody is embodying one quality, we should try to balance that by showing them the other side, by complementing that perspective, by being and representing the other view, so that you can both together form a complete whole, right? Avoiding one-sidedness, avoiding imbalance, avoiding black and white thinking by constantly showing the second viewpoint, the alternative perspective, the other side of something. And by just being able to present and bring that into anything, right? Here you can say that, yes, if we should have a lot of rules, then we should have a lot of loopholes as well. If we should have a lot of, if we need to do this practice, we need to balance it with that practice, right? And here's like thinking about how to be constructive when other people tell you to do something that you don't want to do, is thinking about how can I make this more balanced? If I feel this is unbalanced, if I feel like this is not fair, if I feel this is not right, what can I do to make it right? You know, if this is what we're going to do as a company, if this is the direction we're heading, how can I be a complementary force in this world? What can I do in order to make sure that what I do brings balance to the table and maintains balance in the organization? Because a lot of decisions that are thought out are unbalanced, one-sided, focus only on a small perspective of the organization, miss important perspectives, forget to consider different viewpoints, right? So how do I make sure to bring in that viewpoint that's being missed? How do I stand up for the silent voice? How do I make sure that unheard voices are heard? How do I make sure that we consider and factor in things that, you know, the management might not be able to factor in and consider? And remember that, well, regardless of what rules or changes that are being brought for or whatever is being pushed for, introverted feeling is about nuance, right? So it's not about a one-sided saying no. It's not just about like protesting. It's not just about speaking out and saying, I don't want to do that. It's about bringing and showing people how to see nuance, remembering and reminding people that, yes, we can do this, but that's going to lead to this, and understanding that, we could go there, but if we combine the perspectives of those two, we can find another path, another way of looking at it that can be more nuanced, that can bring more color, that can bring in more diversity, that can allow for more sustainability in the organization in the longer perspective, right? So find a way to bring out and help people see nuances. That's how you resist as an INFP. You show people alternative ways. You don't outright just resist and say no unless it's absolutely called for. You try to in every situation see where the other person is coming from and what they're trying to do, but to remind them of things that are also important to make sure that they never become victims to one-sidedness or black and white thinking or unnecessary confrontations. At least that's how I think INFPs should resist. Tell me about the situation in your life where you stood up to somebody, or when you made a resistance against something, or when you fought against something that was important to you. How did that go for you, and like what did you learn from that experience? Thank you so much for watching, and see you all in the next video.